On the geopolitical chessboard, moves are no longer made solely in the mud of the trenches. They are now made with massive fireballs visible from kilometers above the atmosphere, and even from the depths of space. I'm Charlie. Please sit back and focus your full attention on the screen. Today, I'll explain how the course of the war has completely reversed. We'll decode how Russia's massive offensive plans have actually turned into a rotting logistical wreck from the inside out, using numbers, satellite imagery, and independent intelligence reports. Let's start right away with that striking satellite image. The Tuapse oil refinery in the Krasnodar region, one of the most critical energy facilities supplying Russia's southern front, the Black Sea Fleet, and the logistics network in Crimea. Last night, Ukraine's next-generation unmanned aerial vehicles struck this massive facility right at its heart. The scale of the incident was so massive that the destruction caused by the attack and the rising smoke were clearly captured from space by NASA satellites. This isn't just an ordinary factory fire, folks. We're talking about a massive smoke plume stretching 200 kilometers long. This smoke isn't just from burning oil. It's the smoke of Russia's air defense systems failing. Ukrainian drones, traveling from hundreds of kilometers away, penetrated what was claimed to be Russia's best protected airspace, effectively piercing it like a sieve to reach this strategic facility. According to technical details reported by Militarny, the drones directly targeted the refinery's fuel storage tanks, triggering a chain reaction. This fire, immediately confirmed by independent international sources, caused a seismic shift in the war's logistical dimension. So how does this fire affect a Russian tank on the front lines? An armored brigade, without fuel in its depot, becomes nothing more than a pile of the world's most expensive metal. Those millions of gallons of fuel burning in Tuapse mean that the tanks, howitzers, and ammunition trucks scheduled to head to the front the next day will come to a standstill. At this very point, I'd like to ask you, in a modern war, which is more valuable? 100 tanks on the front line, or the single refinery that keeps those 100 tanks moving? Do you break your enemy's weapon, or cut off their breath? Share your thoughts on this critical strategic dilemma in the comments section. Reading your ideas and discussing them is very valuable to me. If you've struck the enemy's heart, it's time to sever its arteries. Ukraine's asymmetric warfare strategy operates precisely through this synchronization. While the Tuapse refinery was engulfed in flames, an equally astonishing operation took place simultaneously at a far more critical location, directly within the occupied Luhansk region. Massive Russian logistics trains carrying fuel to the front lines were blown up by Ukrainian forces' precision strikes. Please connect these two events. The production hub in Tuapse is being struck. The supply line in Luhansk is being struck. According to Interfax intelligence reports, these railway sabotage operations have officially paralyzed the Russian army's supply lines on the southeastern front. Do you know what a logistics paralysis means? It means the soldier in the trench runs out of ammunition, and the commander is left helpless. Russia may be a massive military machine, but the gears of that machine are no longer turning. They are rusting and melting. So what does an empire with a collapsing logistics system and burning refineries do? It panics. And like any panicking power, it uses its last remaining strength irrationally, solely for the purpose of inflicting damage. Just days ago, Russia carried out the year's largest, deadliest, and most costly airstrike, a clear sign of this very desperation. Nearly 700 drones and ballistic missiles were launched across Ukraine in a single night. This horrific attack resulted in civilian casualties and infrastructure damage. However, from a military analytical perspective, this attack is not a display of power. It is an admission of exhaustion. Since Russia has failed to make strategic gains on the front lines, it is squandering its stockpile of billions of dollars worth of missiles to terrorize cities. Missiles that cannot hit military targets are being launched solely to create psychological pressure. At this very moment, I'd like to extend a brief invitation to you, our valued viewers who follow the in-depth analyses on this channel. If you appreciate the raw military realities beyond propaganda and this kind of deep geopolitical analysis, subscribe to the MrGEOPOL channel right now. Turn on notifications so you can learn about these moments, when the rules of war are being rewritten before anyone else. Our strength lies in your support for this independent analytical stance. Let's pick up where we left off. Russia isn't just attacking from the air. They've assembled a brand new force of exactly 20,000 troops for a major offensive on the southeastern front. 20,000 soldiers! A massive number on paper. But remember the logistical collapse we just mentioned. 20,000 people without fuel and with severed supply lines are not an army in modern warfare. They are simply a massive target. So where will these 20,000 soldiers attack? This is where Russia's real nightmare begins. These new Russian forces won't be attacking an ordinary plane. Facing them is a wall of death, the pinnacle of military engineering and geographical intelligence. According to an extensive terrain analysis published by the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, the Ukrainian army has built a chain of fortifications along the front line, which we call the fortress belt, that is nearly impossible to breach. This isn't just about concrete and steel. It's the manifestation of geographic intelligence on the battlefield. The slope of the hills, river crossings, and the natural camouflage of the forests have been designed to create a perfect kill zone for Ukrainian artillery and unmanned aerial vehicles. These reports clearly show that Russian forces are desperately trying to prepare themselves against this massive fortress. Facing them are minefields stretching for kilometers, autonomous turrets, and drones conducting constant surveillance. When that 20,000-strong Russian force crashes into this fortress, running out of fuel and demoralized, predicting the tactical disaster that will ensue is hardly difficult. The era of breaching modern fortifications with human waves ended in World War I. Would you like to see how the war was managed not just on the battlefield, but also on the financial front, through a game of wits? Before you lies the most monumental, most ironic move in the history of modern diplomacy. Britain officially announced a massive new military aid package worth a full $1 billion to support the Ukrainian army. But I want to share the legendary detail that elevates this package beyond a mere aid package. According to reports shaking up defense circles, the UK is financing this massive $1 billion drone and air defense package not from its own coffers, but from frozen Russian assets. Can you imagine? Funds belonging to Russian oligarchs and billionaires close to the Kremlin, frozen in European banks, are being seized. That money is being used to purchase the world's most advanced weapons, drones, and air defense systems. And those weapons are being sent directly to Ukraine to strike the Russian military. Russia's own money is being transformed into the technology that spells the end of its own army. You cannot outmaneuver your enemy in the geopolitical arena with a more brilliant strategic move than this. For the Putin regime, this is not just a military defeat, it is a humiliating financial one. These $1 billion worth of advanced technology systems form the steel dome that will stop the very 700 munition Russian airstrikes we just mentioned. The West's unwavering support is fundamentally shifting the balance on the ground. This financial blow from the UK and Ukraine's absolute dominance in the skies have literally severed the Kremlin's nerves. Unable to stop this drone tsunami with tanks and missiles on the ground, they resorted to a state blackmail tactic rarely seen in history. Please pay close attention to that terrifying report just released by United 24 Media. Russia has taken an unprecedented step by publishing the exact addresses of unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, facilities and factories across Europe and explicitly declaring them potential targets. This is no ordinary news, friends. It is a manifesto of a superpower's desperation within the 21st century doctrine of hybrid warfare. While your troops on the ground are surrendering to Ukrainian drones and your refinery in Tuapse is burning, you're stepping forward to imply sabotage and assassination against factories at the heart of NATO, in the very center of Europe. So will the West see through this cheap bluff? Do you think Europe will back down and say, let's stop supplying weapons to Ukraine, when the coordinates of its own factories are published by the Kremlin? Quite the opposite. Such mafia-style blackmail only binds the Western alliance even tighter. While Russia tries to intimidate the West, it is actually declaring its own exhaustion and failure on the front lines to the entire world. Threatening to strike a factory in Berlin while unable to protect oil depots in your own country is, in military literature, a clear sign of asymmetric collapse. In the war's early months, the skies were entirely under Russia's control. The Ukrainian Air Force was paralyzed. Its aircraft could no longer take off. So what is the situation today? Strategic reports leaked in recent hours have revealed yet another hard-to-believe reality. Ukrainian forces have officially taken control of the airspace over the Donetsk region, one of the war's hottest zones. Controlling the Donetsk airspace means monitoring every move and every step of those 20,000 Russian troops on the ground, second by second. Radars have been blinded, air defense batteries have been taken out by drones, and the skies have been handed over to Ukraine's unmanned systems. Let's put all of this together, friends. The massive refinery burning in Tuapse, the logistics trains blown up in Luhansk, the billions of dollars worth of weapons the UK purchased with Russian money, and the absolute dominance in the skies over Donetsk. There is only one clear conclusion. Ukraine has completely seized the initiative in the war. When we examine the developments from the first day of the war to the present, the flawless war timeline published by United 24 Media tells us a very clear story. Ukraine did not merely defend its own territory, it succeeded in turning the war directly back onto Russia's territory, its refineries, and the heart of its economy. This is a masterpiece of asymmetric warfare doctrine. It is the art of wearing down a military force many times larger than one's own, not through brute force, but through intelligence, technology, precision sabotage, and high resilience. Redirecting the war into the enemy's heartland, Russian territory, carries not only a military cost, but an even more devastating economic one. Ukraine's flawless timeline has severed not just the refineries, but the very lifelines of the Russian economy. When your military logistics are paralyzed and your oil revenues turn into a fireball, the reverberations of this crisis in the capital are massive. A breaking news report from the international news agency Reuters exposed the deep panic behind Moscow's opulent palaces to the entire world. Russian President Vladimir Putin publicly berated his top officials and economic advisors on camera due to the severe economic contraction, runaway inflation, and the massive costs of the war. Please read the geopolitical psychology of this moment carefully. History has always taught us this. When a leader begins to blame his own staff on national television and pin the blame for failure on his own ministers, you know that system has begun to rot from within. The propaganda of "everything is going according to plan" has been replaced by the question, who is responsible for this economic collapse? Because the truth is stubborn, friends. You cannot hide the 200-kilometer-long plume of smoke rising from Tuapse with state television censorship. You cannot spin inflation fairy tales to a people who have sacrificed their children to that 20,000-strong fortress ring assault. The shift in initiative has upended the balance not only on the battlefield, but also in the cold corridors of the Kremlin. Before us stands a fading imperial machine and a defensive fortress that grows smarter by the day, backed by the West's massive technological shield. The era when wars were won solely by massive armies is over. Today, the war is won by those who control logistics, monitor airspace with drones, and can use the enemy's own money as a weapon against them. Do you think Russia will be forced to change its strategy in the wake of this logistical nightmare, which has become impossible to resolve, and the loss of airspace over Donetsk? Or will they continue to blindly pile troops into that infamous fortress belt? I look forward to your valuable and thought-provoking comments below. I'll read each one carefully, and in the next analysis, we'll open new perspectives based on these ideas. Don't forget to subscribe to the MrGEOPOL channel to follow these mind-boggling geopolitical shifts, the intelligence games behind the scenes, and the raw strategic realities, and show your support by liking the video. Your engagement is the greatest force keeping this platform independent. I'm Charlie. Keep your mind sharp and your vision broad. See you in the next in-depth analysis. Stay safe.